All right, hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys with us today. Super excited for today's session. We're going to be talking about how you can leverage marketing automation in your plumbing, HVAC, electrical business to generate better results. Really, the promise is to triple your conversion rate by leveraging automation. And so I want to make the interaction here as simple as possible. If you're using marketing automation in some form, maybe you're using Conversion Amp, maybe you're using some other system that automates responses and messages, give me a 1 in the comments. If you're not, and you don't use any AI today, you're not leveraging tools to automate the way you follow up with your leads, type 2. So just to kind of let me know where you guys are at on this. Is this something new and exciting that you're going to try and implement? Or is this something that you've already got going and you're just looking to improve? I'm seeing a number of 2s. Don's using HubSpot and ServiceTitan, okay, and ChatGPT, okay, excellent, fantastic. So there's some great combination of tools for that particular purpose. Amazing. So I'm seeing some people using a little bit, some people not using it at all. But that's really the focus of today's session. We're going to be talking all about how to leverage marketing automation in a way that's going to help you convert more of the leads that you generate into booked jobs, convert more of those booked jobs into closed transactions, and more of those closed transactions into repeat business. Right? If we can get the one-time customer to go write us a review, and we can get that one-time customer then to use this again, and we can get that one-time customer to refer us to somebody else, there's a 3-time advantage for every single customer that we get. And so we want to make sure we're leveraging technology to the greatest extent possible to get the best results possible out of our marketing. And so this is part of our accelerated growth model. On a previous webinar, I went in depth on this model and kind of how it works and how it plugs in. But ultimately, to triple your sales, there's 3 things we have to focus on. Number 1 is we've got to drive leads, right? We got to have a process to get our lead flow coming in, whether that's book jobs on the dispatch board, inbound phone calls. We've got to generate leads. And we do that predominantly through organic SEO, right? Making sure we're coming up in the non-paid listings. We do that through paid search, which is tapping into local service ads, tapping into Google ads, tapping into retargeting, driving paid traffic to our business. And then we do that through database marketing, right? That's making sure we get a database of our customers, database of our prospects, and we're communicating with them via email and SMS to get them to use us again, to get them to refer us to others. And we find that when you've got this dialed in, you're going to have a steady flow of leads, right? There's a lot of channels you can tap into. Second thing we got to do is we got to maximize conversion, because what we find is you can get lots of leads, but if you aren't converting those leads into book jobs, if you aren't converting those into opportunities, you could spend a lot of money and not get a great return on your investment. And so to maximize conversion, number 1, we've got to make sure that our website is built to convert, right? That it converts visitors into callers, right? Got to make sure the website is really built to convert. It's mobile friendly. It's got all the right conversion elements. Number 2, we got to have a great reputation, because what we know is your customer, before they call you, before they hire you, especially for a replacement or for a new installation, a higher ticket service, they're going to look you up, and they're going to look on Google, and they're going to look on Yelp, and they're going to look on Angie, and they're going to be like, what's the review count? Like, what are past customers saying about them? And if you've got a great reputation, that's going to help carry you forward. If you've got like a tough reputation and you don't have lots of positive feedback online, that's going to impact your conversion in a negative way. So to maximize conversion, we have a great website. We're going to make sure it's built to convert. We're going to make sure we're driving lots of reviews. We got reviews from real customers in a real service area. And then number 3 is we're going to leverage automation, right? And this is something I'm super passionate about. Rick Vega on our team runs our Conversion Amp program. This is really, I think, something that home service companies like you that aren't tapping into this have a huge advantage over the competition, because marketing automation, which I was showing you today, exists where you can follow up with the leads quicker. You can follow up more consistently. And when you do these 3 things well, got a great website that's built to convert, you've got a great online reputation, and you're leveraging automation for speed to lead and for conversion, you're going to convert your lead flow at the highest level possible, which is going to make all of the lead generation that you're doing so much more effective, so much more profitable. And then the third part of this whole process to accelerate growth is we've got to optimize results, right? Because if we're spending money, we need to make sure, first of all, that our total spend is in line, right? How much are we spending on marketing? If the goal is to go from 1 million to 2 million or 2 million to 10 million, typically what has to happen is we have to increase the spend. We're like, okay, we want to increase that lead flow. Let's spend some more on SEO. Let's spend more strategically on paid search. There's places where you can spend those dollars wisely and get a great return to get the type of growth that you're after. So a lot of times when I look at plumbing company or HVAC company that's been at $2 million or $4 million per year for a long time, and we're like, okay, like what's missing? What's the missing element? A lot of times they've kept their budget at whatever it was. Let's say they were spending $5,000 a month for 10 years. And it's like that gets you to a certain level, but in order to go to the next level, a lot of times we're going to need to increase the budget, right? It's usually somewhere between 15 and 20% of revenue reinvested in marketing can generate lots of growth because it's the rocket fuel that you need in order to keep the engine purring. And then we've got to make sure we know our average cost per lead. I'm not suggesting anybody spend money in a vacuum, right? We're going to make sure that that money is well spent. It generates a solid return on investment. So we got to make sure that average cost per lead is under control. And then most importantly, we've got to know the return on investment, right? So we spent $1, how much revenue was actually generated? What channel was it that actually generated that result? And let's double down on those different things. And so, this is the accelerated growth model. We got to drive leads, maximize conversion. We've got to optimize results. And again, regardless if you're at $1 million or $5 million or $10 million, when you do this right, you can absolutely triple your sales over any 12 to 24 month period of time. And so kind of like on a visual spectrum, right? These are the different aspects we need to focus on. Today, we're just focusing on this automation piece, right? Today's session is all around how to implement marketing automation, how to leverage it at the highest level possible so that you can improve your conversions, so that you can get a better return on your investment from your marketing. And again, this is part of our big picture digital dominance method, right? Which is all of the different channels you want to be playing in, all of the different strategies you want to have in play to maximize your lead flow and be like the go-to contractor in your service area. So for those of you that don't know me, just real quick, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder and CEO of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. Active in a lot of the industry associations like Nexstar, QSC, CEO Warrior, and the like. Spoken a lot of the industry events and conferences. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff is that at this point, I've now had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors in some of the most competitive markets across the country, and been able to see a lot of them go from struggling, not generating a lot of results online, to now where they're the dominant players in their market. Many of them, at this point, seeing millions of dollars of revenue increase over our time working together. Some of them even 8-figure increase in their revenue, like $10 million plus in revenue growth. And so what I'm sharing and what I'm going to be kind of going through with you guys today isn't based on theory. It's not based on some blog that I read somewhere. It's what's working in the real world with real plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors just like you. And this is what we do at Plumbing and HVAC SEO day in and day out. We've got a full team of SEO, web development, marketing automation ninjas that do this day in and day out, working with our clients, helping them get the website right, get the SEO right, drive traffic in the right way, put the automations in place. And so if you're ever interested in talking with us about how we can help, we would love the opportunity to connect with you. And even if it's just a matter of, hey, I'd like to have you look at what we're doing with our website and our SEO and our paid search, we will do that complimentary. And if there's an opportunity for us to work together, fantastic. If there's not, that's okay too. We love the opportunity just to kind of evaluate. And if you're working with somebody right now that's doing an amazing job, we'll give you the nod. Hey, you know what? It looks really good. You're in good hands. No need to make a change. But if we see an opportunity that can help you accelerate, we'll point that out as well. So Christian just dropped into the chat. If you'd like to schedule a time complimentary, we'll look at your website. You can do that at plumberseo.net/schedule. Okay, so let's get into it. The question of the day, like the focus of the day, is around marketing automation. And I guess what I want to ask is, just real quick, I want you to think, what are some of your biggest challenges today as it relates to marketing, right? Could be your SEO, could be your pay-per-click, could be your social media strategy, could be the way that you're doing trucks and networking. When you think about marketing, what's the biggest challenge? You can either just write that down on a scratch pad, you can kind of bring it to the top of your head, or you can post it in the chat if you want to engage in that way. And what I usually hear, first person that posted it here was, I'm getting the phone to ring, right? What I usually hear is not enough leads, right? No matter what I do, whether it's SEO, pay-per-click, social media, I jump from this company to that company, I write lots more content, I create videos, I still don't generate enough leads. So I hear that pretty frequently. The other one I hear pretty often is, we're doing all this marketing, but I've got poor lead quality. Like the people that call in, they're just tire kickers, right? Or the people that submit the form on the site, they're just looking for a price, and they're not ready to take action right now. And then the other is lead cost just gets too high, right? It's like, hey, you know what? I know I can generate leads, but by the time I pay my technicians, by the time I go out and do the work, we spent so much on the lead that our return on investment is low. And so these are some of the common challenges I hear, like that I hear constantly about, what am I stuck with? What am I struggling with my marketing? Give me one of the comments if you can relate to any of these, or that these are some of the challenges you're facing with your marketing. The other one that I hear pretty often is there's a lack of clear tracking for ROI. So it's like, yeah, I know I'm getting leads. Yeah, I know I'm getting sales, but I don't know like what's working, right? I don't know if it's my SEO thing, or it's the website, or if it's just because we've got pretty trucks out in the field. I feel like I spend a lot of money, but I don't really know. And so it's hard for me to quantify and say, hey, I should spend more, because I can't really say whether I'm getting a return on investment or not. Whitney says yes to this, right? This is a struggle, like lack of clear understanding. And then the other thing is there's a lot of options, right? And there's always a new shiny object in marketing, right? Over the years, it used to be the yellow pages, and then it was like these mailers that you can send out. And of course, in the last couple of decades, it's been the internet with getting your website ranked, and then doing paid search, and now social media and YouTube and Nextdoor and all of these different things that come into play. Sometimes you just get overwhelmed. It's like, man, there's too many options. And so I don't know what I should actually spend my money on. I don't know what's going to drive the best return. I don't know what we should do in order to generate the kind of growth that we're after. And so I'd like to kind of put out there, is lead flow really the problem? Like when we think about the options we have to market our plumbing, HVAC, electrical business, there's so many things we can do. And when done correctly, these all work pretty well, right? If you get ranked organically, if you properly optimize and run your local service ads, tap into some of the like cost per lead services like Thumbtack and Nextdoor and Angie. If you start to build up your brand, right, and become known because your trucks are the brand that's recognized in the area, maybe you start to play with your brand advertising, radio and billboards, Google ads, word of mouth business. There's no shortage of homeowners in any market across this country that are struggling with their plumbing, their HVAC, their electrical, right? The lead flow is abundant, right? And there's so many channels when you do it right that you can plug in. What I see, the biggest challenge that most contractors I meet with, and our team meets with dozens of contractors in the plumbing, HVAC, electrical space weekly. The biggest challenge we see is unconverted leads, right? Most of you on this call or watching this in the recording, you're doing marketing, you're generating leads. But unfortunately, the vast majority of those leads go unconverted, right? And listen, this could be the web forms that get submitted in. It could be the chats that happen on your website. It absolutely is the phone calls. People call in and we listen to recordings of our clients' calls, some of the best contractors in the country. And oftentimes people are calling in and they just don't convert. They say, hey, I'm going to check with somebody else. Hey, I'm going to get back to you later. Give me one in the comments if you feel like this is an issue with your marketing, where it's like, you know what, maybe only 30 or 40% of your leads actually convert into a dispatch job. And even a less percentage of those convert into actual revenue for your business, right? I really believe if you can solve for converting the leads that you generate at a higher level, everything else works itself out, right? And you can be more aggressive with your marketing because you're converting those leads at a super high level. So here's the issue, and here's the reality of the situation as we look at it. Across the spectrum of plumbing, HVAC, electrical home service companies, on average, 50 to 60% of inbound leads leave unconverted, right? So if we look at this closely, we listen to the calls, we look at the chat forums, we look at the submissions, 50 to 60% don't convert, right? And they were in your market. They were looking to have something fixed. They called in and they just didn't schedule the call and it didn't turn into a job. And something like 90% of web forms fail to convert, right? It's like somebody submits it, it goes to the company, the person on the other side is waiting around for a call. While they're waiting, they go call 3 other contractors. By the time your company gets back to them, they've already moved on. They've already checked out. And so, if we can solve for this, it makes a big, big difference. And I think the reason these numbers are the way that they are, and I'm talking about looking at some of the best in this industry, not, the average, the average contractor is probably worse, but I'm talking about the best of the best. This is what we're seeing across the industry. And so here's the reason. Speed to lead is a huge factor. Your customer in today's market, if you don't answer right away, if you don't follow up right away, right at their fingertips, they've got dozens of other options that they're going to go to. And let's face it, we're in a fast-paced world today where somebody might have made a call and sat around and waited to solve that problem. In today's market, your customer's number one fear when trying to hire plumbing, HVAC, or electrical is, am I going to waste a bunch of time? Like, am I going to have to call 6 guys and then have the guys come out and then they don't show up and I got to take off work, right? If you don't follow up with leads within 15 minutes or less, they go cold. And I think it's probably more like 5 minutes or less is really the prime opportunity. But 15 minutes or less, if you don't have somebody Johnny on the spot, reaching out to your leads, following up, they're going to go elsewhere and they're going to disappear into the ether. The average customer needs to be followed up with 5 to 7 times before booking. And what I think when I look at most contractors, I see their process for their sales process, because it's time consuming. They answer the phone. Okay, like, tell me about your situation. Great, I can get somebody out there Tuesday at 3 or whatever the situation is. Maybe there's a direct charge, maybe there's not. But what usually happens is the only jobs that get followed up with are the ones that get booked. We're trying to take the low-hanging fruit that they said, yes, I'll schedule for Tuesday at 3, but the other, 7 out of 10 said, hey, let me check with my spouse. Hey, I'm going to make a couple calls. I'll get back to you. Hey, that time doesn't work. Let me follow up. Well, if we call them back, or we text message with them, or we engage with them, we're going to get a higher conversion rate on those leads. Most contractors don't do anything after the initial call. Call comes in. Are you ready to book? Yes or no? If not, bam, it's gone. That was a paid lead. Maybe it cost us $60. Maybe it cost us $100. No one's going to follow up with it. And unless they call back, that deal is lost. Give me a yes if that's you, because I know that's a lot of you guys. And then the other really important reason that these leads are going unconverted is that today's customer prefers to interact via text message versus the phone and email, right? And so we're all conditioned in this trade to focus on the phone, right? We want more phone calls. We want our dispatchers on the phone with these prospects. We want to schedule appointments. But your customer today would much prefer to engage via a text message if they have the option, right? I don't know about you, even me personally, in today's environment, if I can send a text message and solve a problem versus having a phone call, I'm going to take that. Give me a text in the chat here if that's you. Like, whether it's scheduling a food pickup or solving a problem around the house, or even dealing with situations that need to be dealt with, just get yep or text in the comments. Nick says yep. If that's your reality. So if we know that our customer has shifted from wanting to talk to us on the phone and have a long blown out conversation versus text message, if we don't have a mechanism to connect with the customer the way they want to engage, we're going to be leaving money on the table. We're not going to be converting the way that we could or the way that we should. So that's the reason why. The solution really is that the marketing automation now exists. There's only 2 ways that you could solve this. Number one is have an army of salespeople on the phone that are Johnny on the spot. The second a lead comes in, they're calling them, right? And they're sending a text message. And then they've got like a pipeline queue where after every lead, they put it into a follow-up tickler, and they're calling all your customers back every couple of days until they convert or don't convert. And that's a great option, right? If you can build a sales floor like that, if you want to build that type of thing out into your business, fantastic. But it's going to be cost prohibitive, right? It's going to get pretty expensive to have that staff manned. And it's going to be frustrating. Like what we found with trying to run those types of call centers is usually the people get annoyed. Like it's like nobody wants to do that job for a very long time. So the cool thing is that marketing automation now exists where we can solve like 80% of this. Not as good as having real people calling your prospects immediately after the leads, but we can leverage automation to make sure that every lead gets followed up with in 2 minutes or less. Literally, whether it's an inbound chat, whether it's an inbound email, or whether it's an inbound inquiry that doesn't get answered, we can make sure we've got automation that follows up in 2 minutes or less via phone, email, and SMS. Right? If you do that, your leads are going to be more prompt to go with you because they're shopping around until they get someone live that says, hey, yes, I can get there Tuesday at 3. Right? And so speed to lead is one of the most important things we want to solve for, and we can do that through marketing automation. The other thing is we can automate the follow-up so that every prospect gets touched at least 5 times until they convert or say, hey, you know what, I've already moved on. And even the best sales teams that I've seen, maybe they've got a good follow-up on their lead flow. Maybe they've got someone that follows up with a lead after it comes in, but very few are checking in with those leads 5 or 6 times until the job is booked. And through automation, we can put messaging in place to make sure that that automation touches the prospect, connects them with your office, or connects them with to a text message to get things done and to get the problem solved. So I think the math on this is pretty simple, right? And we've been testing this. We've been looking at this with a lot of our clients, the ones that actually use it, right? That actually implement it, that actually let the technology do its thing. Let's say on average, you generate 100 leads per month and your conversion rate is 30%, right? And we're seeing somewhere between 30 and 50%, kind of the norm. We don't have follow-up in place, right? So it's just, if Sally answered the phone, great. If Sally had time to check the email and call the customer back that one time, that's it. Outside of that, there's really no automation. There's no follow-up. There's no speed to lead. Let's say at 30%, we book 30 jobs. Average ticket on those is, let's say, $650. I know a lot of you guys have a higher average ticket than this. Let's just say it's $650. That would be 40 jobs, right? 30% on those 100. That math isn't right. 30 jobs times 650 be about $19,000 in revenue. Let's say give or take. Not great, right? Because if you spent on 100 leads $5,000, to generate that, that's going to be tough, right? You're not going to have a lot of return on investment. Now, what we found is when we get this right, we can really improve the conversion rates on our lead flow because we're able to follow up quicker. We're able to put automations in place. Let's say we can get that up to 70% because we're leveraging automated follow-up. So that means every lead's getting follow-up within 2 minutes or less. Every lead is getting connected with via SMS, phone, and email. Most people we find today are actually engaging with the text message, but some still obviously do like the phone. So because of automated follow-up, we're able to get it to 70%. That would mean for that same 100 leads, we're booking 70 book jobs, right? 70 book jobs at an average of that same 650, even if you didn't optimize your average ticket in the field, would be $45,000 in revenue on the same spend, right? On the same investment, on the same bucket of leads. That makes a big difference because when you're getting a return on investment on all of the marketing that you do, you're gonna be able to spend more, right? You're gonna be able to be more aggressive in the marketplace. And so really what that does is it makes every lead more valuable, right? Where one contractor might get the same lead and only convert 30%, and you're able to spend the same amount or more and convert 70%. I hope you see, like, whether it was from SEO or was from pay-per-click or was from your brand advertising, regardless of the channel, it makes every lead that you generate exponentially more valuable. And so speed to lead, leveraging automation, that's really the ticket. That's really what we're after. That's what we're going to be talking about here. So a couple of keys in order to implement this, and we'll kind of walk you through the flows that we can put in place to make this happen. Number one is we've got to engage the way your customer wants to engage. I talked about the fact that there was this shift from your customer wanting to call in to, if they've got the option to book directly online, or they've got the option to engage via two-way text message and get the question answered and get the job booked, they would absolutely do that. We got to make sure we're leveraging at least text message and phone, right? If you're not doing text messaging for your prospecting, for your customer communication today, that's a big miss, right? it's a huge miss. Just type text in the comments or SMS if that resonates, right? This is huge. And if you're already doing it, kudos. Maybe there's some cooler things you can do to take it to the next level. But if you're not two-way messaging, you're leaving money on the table. Here's the statistics that we found. Statistics show that 98% of all text messages are opened, and 95% of text messages are opened and responded to in 3 minutes of being delivered. What's more is the U.S. consumers are 5 times more likely to send and receive text messages than a phone call. 5 times more likely, right? This is huge. Like, if you don't take anything else away from today's session, but you're like, man, we got to put our dispatchers into a mechanism where they can do two-way texting with our clients, our customers, and our prospects, then that would have been an amazing and powerful takeaway for you on today's session. Number 2 is we got to follow up quickly, right? I talked about speed to lead and the fact that if we don't follow up in 5 minutes or less, they're going to go somewhere else, right? And by the time you get to them, they will have already booked it with somebody else, and you're like kind of out of it. What we found, leads that aren't followed up within 15 minutes or less go cold. I'm sure you've experienced this. Oh man, the leads are no good. All those leads, they got called by 6 other contractors. Guess who wins in that game? The contractor that called them first, right? Because most people just want this done. They just want to move on with their life. They want to move on with their day. So that speed to lead is so important. If you follow up in 5 minutes or less, it's 21 times more effective than calling after 30 minutes, right? You have to optimize for quickness of a follow-up, 21 times more. After 5 minutes, the odds of qualifying a lead drop by 80%. 50% of leads go with the vendor that responds first. I know we don't want that to be the case. I know we want to be the contractor of choice. I know we want to be the contractor that stood out in the marketplace and they chose us because we're highest quality, right? We're most professional. But knowing the avatar that you're going after, right? I just want you to really put in context here. Your ideal customer is a homeowner. They're an affluent homeowner. They've got a family, typically with a couple of kids. That avatar is less interested in reducing costs and more interested in getting problems solved. And they're so busy and they got so many things going on. That's why speed to respond is so important. Number 3 is we want to leverage automation. Like I talked about the fact that, yes, you could have, a whole little floor of people that follow up with all your leads in a couple minutes or less. And that's a good idea, right? I think you should absolutely do it. But in addition to that, you want to leverage automation, because in the ideal scenario, and I'll show you exactly how you can get this done in the next week or 2 and have it live within your business. Every lead is going to get an email and an SMS in the first 30 seconds. Hey, you just called in. How can we help? Hey, just trying to check in. You submitted the form on our website, wanted to see if you had any questions I could help you with, right? We want to make sure they get that via email and SMS, and then they get a call from somebody here in your office in 5 minutes or less. And that call is important because some people still do prefer to engage on the phone, right? Not everybody wants to do text. What we find is through automation, we can fire an email and an SMS. And that tells them, wow, they're responsive. They're on top of the ball. They want to solve this for me. They can probably get somebody out to solve this for me in the next week, in the next day or 2, maybe even later today, right? That's what they want. And most of them will respond. If you're leaning on email and you're expecting your customer to reply to you via email, you're sorely mistaken, right? Most of your prospects, most of your customers aren't going to engage with an email. It's usually like 1 in 20 that will respond to an email for home services, right? They just don't care that much. Through SMS, we're finding it is significantly higher. It's almost like 8 out of 10 will engage with that SMS message. Dawn says best SMS option. There's lots of tools that do this today. We've got a great platform I'll be showing you here in a second called Conversion Amp, which gives you the ability to two-way text message with your prospects to have this automation in place. Now, we do want to have the call, and we have to do it in 5 minutes or less. Otherwise, the call becomes so much less effective. And so we want to have the automation automatically ring into your office. So yes, whoever is an answer at your office, let's say it's Betty. And Betty's process today is a lead comes in, but she's busy. She's doing bookkeeping. Maybe she's doing other things. But she'll call that prospect back when she gets time. Usually the attrition of the follow-up is too slow, right? Even if you've got a sales team and they're trying to do this, they get busy one day, they're doing something else. And before you know it, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, half a day have passed and they haven't called the lead. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an automation in place that automatically after 5 minutes sends a call to the office that says, you've got a new lead, press 1 to connect now. and it automatically forces a call to the prospect, right? This way, if they responded via text message, which a lot of them do, you don't have to call, right? It's like, yeah, I've got a broken water heater. Awesome. We can get a technician out there, you do all of that via text. But if they don't respond, now they're talking to somebody live. And hopefully they're talking to someone live before they've talked to 3 other contractors. So it's like a big chunk of it is making sure we're just following up quickly via all 3 channels. And then we want to make sure every lead is followed up with at least 7 times via email, SMS, and phone. And these are not like what you don't want to do with your SMS follow-up is like send long messages. Hey, you contacted, Bob Jones Plumbing, and we just wanted to follow up. We're full service, family owned and operated. No, like literally, I'll show you some of the examples. They're going to submit a form on your site, or they're going to call and it's going to go to voicemail, and you're going to send a quick message and say, hey, this is Bob from Bob Jones Plumbing. You just reached out. Was there anything I can help you with? ? Right? And then they're going to reply back. Yeah, I'm looking to get this thing solved. Excellent. Would you like to get that scheduled? Sure. And we can either take them to an automatic scheduling mechanism, or we can book it with them directly on text message. But it doesn't need to be long. And then the follow-up message also isn't like, hey, right? What we want that next message to be was like, hey, just wanted to check in. Did you get your plumbing? Did you get the problem resolved? ? No. Oh, awesome. Did you want help? Right? So that's what we're going to do is just going to make sure we're dripping on these guys over time to get them to respond, to get them to re-engage, because people get busy, right? Maybe they submit the form on your website, or they call in and then they get busy, they move on to something else, but that problem is still lingering, still needs to be solved. And so that's where the 7 touches has a huge impact. Not all of them are going to not have solved it, right? Down the path, most of them have solved the problem. They've already called somebody out, but there's a percentage that you can pick up just by running automation and just by being diligent in your follow through with your prospects. So this is an image visual. It's going to be hard to see. I'm going to kind of break these down for you in each of the different segments. Can you guys see this at all? Just give me a 1 if you can see it, a 2 if you can't see it at all, because it's probably better than my handwriting, which is hilariously bad. 2 can't see it at all. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up blown up versions of this, but the gist of it is they're gonna come to your website. They're gonna either call in or submit a form, and then they're gonna go into an automatic tree that's like, hey, you reached out, and then it waits. If they respond back, it takes them to, great, did you want to schedule a call? Yes, bam, takes them in. Once they've scheduled, either it's going to go to whatever scheduling system you already use, which a lot of you guys use ServiceTitan or use House Call Pro, or maybe you're using Schedule Engine. We're going to push it through that for confirmation. But if you don't, it's going to be a regular form that then says, hey, you're confirmed, soft confirmed. Our team's going to call and follow up automatically. But we want to have fail safes where every lead that comes in gets followed up with really, really quickly, but then they get into a tree that basically works the automation to convert more and more of them into book jobs and into sales. So I guess my question here, and I'm going to show you this closer, but I just want a yes in the comments. If you think that if you followed up with your leads in 5 minutes or less, you use text message and email and phone, and you had some type of automation that followed up with them 5 to 7 times, yes in comments if you think more of your opportunities would convert into book jobs. Just a yes in the comments. All right, Nick says yes. Whitney says yes. B says yes. And I'll show you statistically, like with our clients that are using this, they do. They book more jobs. It makes their marketing more effective. It makes them more money. Here's an example. Triple AAC is a company we work with in the Texas market. 439 leads, kind of what we track. $6,000 in spend to generate that lead flow. An average of about $13.79 per lead. Breaking it down, 72 from calls, 13 from pay-per-click, 330 from Google Maps, in this case, really heavy there, 24 from web forms. Now, mathematically, what I want you to see is if we got 439 leads and we're converting at about 40%, that would be 175 book jobs. In HVAC, average ticket in this market, $970 per job. 239 jobs at $650 is $166,000 in revenue. It's a 27 times return on investment on that $6,052 spend, which is pretty good. It's like, hey, you know what? That's pretty good. But we were at 40%. Putting this marketing automation in place, we're able to see a significant lift in the conversion from, a lead into a book job, into a repeat customer. So 65% now, that means for that same lead flow, 285 book jobs at $950 average ticket, that's $270,000 in revenue. We've now taken it from like a 22-time return on investment to over a 44-time return on investment. And what's amazing is marketing automation is cheap, right? If you think about how much you spend in marketing, whether it's through SEO, pay-per-click, social media, management fees, actual ad spend, in this case, $6,000 on marketing, there's a lot of money that goes into that, and that's just a low average cost per lead. In the industry, usually we're seeing it somewhere around $75 to $150 per lead in HVAC. You're spending that much on marketing, and you're spending that much to generate a lead. If you're not using the technology that exists to convert those leads, you're just chopping off your nose to spite your face. And so this is Mark Mason from RCL Mechanical. Famous quote, and I really want you guys to let this anchor in. Famous quote from Dan Kennedy. Type Dan if you've ever heard of Dan or if you studied Dan Kennedy. He's like a really big name in the direct response world. He says, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins, right? And so understanding that, if you've got better marketing automation in place, you've got better systems to convert your leads into sales, you've now positioned yourself to be able to spend more. Because who cares if it costs you $200 to generate a lead if the cost to actually get an actual customer is less? And on the back end of that, converting the one-time customer into a repeat customer makes this whole equation work. But Mark Mason from RCL Mechanical, we've grown from $1 million to over $14 million in the last 3 years. And if you want, I've got a long-form interview with Mark where he shares his experience, shares his story. And so, it's a function of getting the accelerated growth model in place. It's a function of leveraging automation and a lot of other things that Mark's done in order to really position himself for accelerated growth. So let's talk about how to implement this in your business. Give me one in the comments if you'd like to see how you can put this in place in your process so that you can generate more leads and convert more of those leads into book jobs. Fantastic. I'm seeing lots of ones, which is great. So the technology we use, and it's the technology that we implement with the automations set up. It's called Conversion Amp. Rick, if you could type in the comments, maybe a link where they can check it out. It's conversionamp.com. You can either go check it out there. You can schedule a demo where Rick will show you exactly how this would work in your particular world. But we generate a lead, right? And that lead lands on a web form, right? And think about any page on your website, any of your landing pages, we've got the option to call in, and then we got the option to submit a form, and then we typically have the option to start a chat, right? So they start that process, they take the call to action, and then ideally they schedule. And so this is an example. One of our clients, the plumbing doctor in Falls Church, Virginia, just think about your site, whether you're a client of ours or not. The key thing we want is personality and authenticity, a reason for them to contact you versus the competition, and lots of ways for them to convert, right? And so yes, the phone number is still our default, right? We want to get people to call, but we know that our customers would prefer to engage via other mechanisms. So we want to have the request to schedule. We want to have the chat where they can start a two-way chat, ideally have that go straight to their cell phone, right? And so once they fill it in, right, they enter their details, and then this is where the automation can take it from there. This is just one portion of this, but it's a smart form where once they fill that in, instead of it just sending an email to your office and somebody on the other side checks the email and calls that customer when they have time, what we do is we put the automation behind it where the second any form on your site gets filled in, boom, they get a text message. Hey, this is Ashley from Plum Perfect Plumbing Heat. Thanks for reaching out via the form on our site. Did you want to schedule a time for a service call now? And then we're listening to see what they write back. If they write back yes, amazing. You can schedule a time here, right? If they write back no or some other thing, hey, not a problem. Our team's going to contact you shortly, or feel free to call us here. And of course, our team is trying to call those people anyways. But what we find is something like 30 to 40% of your leads can actually get booked in through the automation, right? And we're starting to leverage AI on the back end of this as well. And I'll be kind of sharing some cool things we're going to be doing on that front that based on their response and based on what we know about your company, we can formulate smart responses that move them to the next action. And so that's typically the channel that's going to generate the most bookings, right? Because they submitted a form, they got a quick text message, and they also got a missed call if they didn't answer, and then they responded and they went ahead and self-booked, and nobody on your team had to even engage. Every once in a while, they respond back with a no, or hey, I got a problem, or hey, I'm looking to do something else, and that needs manual, right? And that needs your dispatcher ideally trying to call them as well as chatting with them on the back end, right? And people love two-way text messaging. And so Conversion Amp, it's got a great conversation flow where you can have those two-way conversations with your prospects, your potential customers, your past customers. And then we can also use the email tranche, right? It's good to follow up via email as well. And I think there's something professional about they submitted a form, they get a text message, they get a call, and there's also an email. It's like, wow, this company's right on top of the ball. And you'll see similar automations can fire. We find a very small percentage of customers actually use the email as the mechanism to book their stuff. So if they say yes, it takes them to the calendar, or it takes them to your booking page where they book the time. And it's usually, if it's straight into Service Titan or it's straight into House Call Pro, whatever your current process is today, where if that's automatically booked and you dispatch based on that, or whether it's soft booked and somebody in the office is calling behind it, we just want to make it simple. The less friction we can create in the process, where a customer can get to your site, can send a request, and can actually get their thing booked, that's the lowest friction method available. And that's what we're after. That's what we're looking to accomplish. Now, if they go all the way through our booking process in Conversion Amp, they're going to get a confirmation, and it's going to say, hey, you're confirmed. Someone in our office is going to call to double confirm the date, right? So it's like kind of a soft confirmation. And then kind of in tandem to that, your team should have a login on Conversion Amp that they're operating from. And that's where we find it works best, because then you can have those real-time conversations that the automation can't always run. But they'll also get an alert via email, and if you want via SMS, hey, you've got a new lead, call them right now, and kind of schedule it in. So, I mean, this is the complete queue. If you want to see this in more detail, I don't want to drive you nuts here. You can go to conversionamp.com to schedule a time where Rick will kind of talk about what's your booking mechanism today, what does the in-office team look like, how are you following up on your leads, because in different scenarios, sometimes it's like, hey, we just need to put this whole thing in place, right? We're going to run the whole process, even down to a calendar that gets confirmed into your system. For others of you, you've got like the whole calendar piece is done, or you've got Schedule Engine or Service Titan, you've got something else that already does that. It's just this little piece right here when a lead comes in, making sure they're followed up with, and then getting added to the automation. And so like a one-on-one demo can be really, really profound. And you can do that at conversionamp.com. This is no obligation, no hard sale. We'll just show you exactly how it will work in your particular situation, your particular situation. And the key thing that this enables you to do, right? The key thing that this solves for is we're going to follow up on every leads in less than 15 minutes or less. We're going to use automation to do that. We're going to make sure that we're following up quickly and that we're like really following through on our processes to get those leads into book jobs, leveraging automation. Kind of stumbled over my words there. Another really good example of this is the Meridian Company. They're based in East Lansing, Michigan. Been with them for quite some time. You can see here about an $8,000 spend in their marketing. That's our management fees and SEO and actual ad spend. Actually, odd, this has landed at exactly 500 leads for that particular month, average of $16.22. That's 128 from inbound like calls, 50 from pay-per-click, 292 from Google Maps, 30 from web forms. You can see here at that 65% close ratio, that's 325 book jobs, average ticket $750. They do some plumbing, they do some electrical. I'm sure it's actually higher in their situation. That is $243,000 in revenue. That's a 30-time return on investment. And so I just want to hammer home the idea that once you get this dialed in, you can run the complete accelerated growth model. Like make sure you're generating as many leads as possible, because you know that you're going to convert those leads at a very high level, right? Because you've got the automation firing. And then you can optimize and you can really go more aggressive with your marketing as you continue to grow and expand. So this is Craig Filipich. I was at their office a couple of years back. Been working with them quite some time. They've grown millions and millions of dollars over the last couple of years by getting this dialed in. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you took away some good ideas and insights. If nothing else, even if you're like, I don't want to do the Conversion Amp thing. If nothing else, make sure you've got a mechanism to two-way SMS with your customers, and then start to leverage automation in how you follow up on your leads via phone and email and SMS, and put that in place. Just the two-way text messaging will take you a long ways. Leveraging automation will kind of amp that even to the next level. So if you're interested in learning about Conversion Amp as a client, this is something we're helping to implement for you, right? And you guys know as clients, we run the complete accelerated growth model with setting up your website, getting it ranked, running the paid search, putting the automation, doing the tracking. If you guys have missed out on what we're doing with our advanced ROI reporting, our ROI Insights report, let us know, because we want to make sure you know about that. You get that set up. Ultimately, what that does is it syncs with ServiceTitan, with House Call Pro, with your actual dispatch system, so we can show you true return on investment down to the channel. So clients, if you want to see how you can do this better, hopefully this gave you some new insights and really why we want you to log in on Conversion Amp, why we're really excited about this, and why we know this is going to help generate better results for you. If you're unclear, get with your account manager, get with Rick. Let us help us help you get this dialed in. If you're not a client and you're like, what? I'm interested in you guys helping us with our online marketing, right? And you're like, this sounds good. I see that you guys know what you're doing. I see the track record. The best way to connect would be to go to plumberseo.net/schedule, and we'll do a complete review. And this is no obligation. We'll review your website, your current rankings, your paid strategy. We'll talk about what you're doing with marketing automation, and we'll show you, hey, here's what's good. Here's where there's room for improvement. Here's what it would look like to work with us, right? No obligation there, but you can schedule that at plumberseo.net/schedule. But if you're also like, all of that stuff sounds good. I'm just interested in the marketing automation, right? I just want to get that set up for my business. You can do that by going to conversionamp.com. And we do offer this standalone. Again, I think every one of you on this call said, if I did follow with my leads in that way, I would convert more into sales. And I'll tell you, the cost of this platform completely implemented is less than basically one book job, right, per month. And so I know we're going to generate a significant return on investment for those of you that choose to implement this. Again, it's conversionamp.com. Any questions? I know I've kind of been talking for quite a bit here. Hopefully you got value. Hopefully you got some new insights and takeaways. Give me a rating on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being, man, this was bad. 10 being, this was useful, powerful, impactful. Give me a 1 out of 10 on today's session, just so I can see whether we want to repeat this one in the future. All right, Don gave me a 10. That makes me feel good. Whitney says 10, especially for text automation. Nick gave a 10 as well. Fantastic. Okay, good. Excellent. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being on today. We are here to support you. If you've just got questions about your marketing, if you got questions about marketing automation, feel free to reach out to us. Again, you've got the 2 links to learn more about Conversion Amp. Go to conversionamp.com. If you're a client, get with your account manager. If you're interested in our marketing suite and how we can help you really triple your sales over the next 12 to 24 months, schedule at plumberseo.net/schedule. That's it today. Thank you guys for being on here. Thank you for having your cameras on, and look forward to talking with you all again real soon.